Okay, welcome everyone to today's webinar, and thanks for making the time to join us. We have half an hour as usual, and if you have any questions during the webinar, please put them in the Q&A section that you'll see a button for below, and we'll try to answer as many of these as we can further on in the webinar. But if there's any that we don't get to, I'm sure we'll be able to get back to you through the newsletter or directly. We have as our special guest today Debra Goldfinch, who is the Acting Assistant Commissioner for the Australian Taxation Office in the small business line. Her focus is to help support small businesses by leading and influencing their experience across the tax, super and registry systems. Deb collaborates with small businesses, industry partners, government agencies to drive and improve small business experience and digital services. Her area also helps small businesses manage cash flow and digital readiness, assisting them as they look to recover and succeed after the challenges of the last few years. It's great you could join us today, Deb. So thanks for coming on our webinar.
Thanks, Ben. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, we might kick off straight away, and I thought I'd start at the beginning with what does a healthy small business look like through a tax and super lens?
Well, I guess one thing we do know, Ben, is that there's no one size fits all for small business. So small business comes in lots of different shapes and sizes, and as a consequence of that, they have different tax obligations. So when we see businesses that are operating well and complying with those tax obligations, the common theme that comes through is that they get the basics right. So these businesses that are healthy and doing everything right generally are keeping really good records, and they do that reconciliation process to make sure everything balances. They very openly and willingly seek advice when they need it. They usually have someone that they can support and trust to provide them with advice as well. So lots of them are engaging with a tax or a BAS agent, using a bookkeeper or accountant as such. So a lot of these healthy businesses too, what we know is they are using digital systems to run their business. So whether it's point of sale software, cloud-based accounting systems, mobile apps, all of that sort of thing. So what we also really note is that when businesses get their tax wrong, it's usually in one of four ways. They're making errors because of poor record keeping. They're not declaring all of that business income. They've failed to account for their private use of business assets and funds. And they're making mistakes because they just don't understand their obligations. So for a good head start, we suggest focusing on good cash flow management, good record keeping, and having the right tools to help support your business.
Terrific. And sort of talking about tools, what support and resources are available to assist small businesses to better understand their tax and super obligations? And I guess if they're not perfectly getting it right, where can they go to sort of move to that next level of making sure their compliance is spot on?
Yeah, look, having the knowledge and knowing where to go for help and support is really important. And the tax office actually has some really, really good resources that are available to small business. One that I like to highlight is recently we released what we call the Essentials to Strengthen Your Small Business. It's a flexible and free online learning platform for small business. We also see that we've actually got tax professionals and other educators using the system as well. But essentially what it's there for is to share information and knowledge around the life cycle of a small business. So from the idea, starting up the business, the day-to-day operations of the business, if you have any changes, and when you do want to close down your business as well. So the idea is we want people to get it right from the start. So we're really encouraging new business operators to use Essentials, but also anyone can go in at any time and access those courses. So there's a lot of information on there around reporting obligations, how to keep good records, cash flow, what happens when you grow your business, Also, so there's some tools available too around how, checking how viable your business might be. So there's 21 courses on there at the moment.
Oh, wow.
You can access them at any time. Like I say, they're free and they're really designed for you to go in, have a look at a time that suits you. You can sort of bookmark that. So that's a really good one that we've only recently released this year, and we're continuing to build on that. Another really handy one is we have a cash flow coaching resource as well. So the cash flow kit is around, we initially designed it for tax agents to help their clients, but it's available to everyone to go and have a look at. And that one is available through business.gov.au. So the cash flow coaching resource. The ATO also runs its own series of webinars around different topics as well that people can access and go into. And there'll be one coming up in a few weeks around decoding Div 7A and how to avoid the common mistakes that happen through there. So any small business owner operating their business through a private company might be a good one to get into. On top of that, we've just got so much other information that's available to people on ato.gov.au. We have a newsroom, so you can actually subscribe to a small business newsroom where we'll actually be putting out regular newsletters with what's actually topical at the time. It's both informative in terms of what's new, but it will also have some handy tips in there around some of the other things that might be coming to the attention of the ATO.
No, that's great.
We're heading. Sorry.
I was going to say we might put some links, I think, in our EDM story just to some of those different tools for members, because some of them sound really, really, really good. I'm sorry I interrupted you there. Was there something else?
Oh, really, what we will do is share some links, and there's a whole heap of information there around tax time. There's a toolkit that we put out every year that you'll be able to access. There's calculators and all of that type of information. So some really handy links that we'll make sure to share. The other thing that people can think about too is the e-invoicing and whether that would be of any benefit to this, to your small business. It does save time and money. Ultimately, it's not a mandatory system. People don't have to use it. But we are seeing that small businesses that are adopting that type of technology are finding it really, really useful. So again, we'll pop a bit more information in there for you about that. So loads and loads of different opportunities to actually self-serve some of that information that's useful.
Now, we've certainly been encouraging members to use e-invoicing and their suppliers as well, just to improve their productivity and speed things up. You touched on some of the cash flow training tools in your answer before. I was just wondering, what advice do you have for our members to help them establish good cash flow and payment habits? Is it to do that training, or is there other things?
Oh, the training's absolutely fabulous. Like, if you do get the opportunity to go in and have a look at it, thoroughly recommend it. But there's some really simple things that we do encourage small businesses to do. And that is provision for your tax up front. And, you might like to think about a separate bank account for your pay-as-you-go, super and GST. So when that's payable, you've actually got the money set aside, ready to go. Avoid the temptation of, spending that money that that has to be paid on to other obligations. So that separate bank account is a simple one. You can consider adjusting your GST registration if your turnover is less than 75,000, and vary your pay-as-you-go instalments so the amount you pay is closer to your expected tax as well. Again, you can call through and we can give you some advice on that sort of thing. You've already mentioned our cash flow coaching kit, so I won't spruik that too much, but I really, really do want to hone in that they are really fabulous resources. The other thing is always, I think, good advice, it doesn't matter what you're thinking about, is don't let old debt stop you from dealing with new debt. So we know from experience that multiple debts can quickly compound, and that can become quite overwhelming. So keep on top of your new obligations and those that are coming up. And we strongly encourage everybody, if you do have a debt with the ATO, reach out, talk to us about it. We're here to try and get people on track to pay their obligations on time. Of course, you've got the opportunity to talk to tax agents and BAS agents. They will also have some really good tips around cash flow. But yeah, some of these things sound really simple, but they're the sorts of things that we see in successful small business.
Terrific. And so you touched on earlier about the webinar you're doing on Div 7A. What's Div 7A?
That's a really good question. So essentially, there's a tax consequence that comes with every payment of benefit you receive from a private company.
Right.
So the ATO is continuing to support getting that detail out to people by having the webinar. I've just found the date in my notes. It's actually going to be on the 6th of June.
Right.
We'll send through a link that will actually have some detail about what Div 7A is and the implications. There's some news article series there around some common mistakes that we see with that, how to comply, and yeah, like I say, it's one of the common things that we see that does go wrong is something we're trying to address, webinars and some updated content on ato.gov.
Okay, we'll look out for that. And the next I had was about, what else can small businesses do to proactively build their business resilience and to stay on track? I mean, you've touched on some of the habits around, separate bank accounts for some of their obligations and things like that. Is there anything else that you would recommend they think about?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we do know is we like small businesses to be positioned and be resilient, because you never know what's coming around the corner. We also know that small businesses are really passionate. They go into running a small business. They usually have a unique skill or passion or service that they're wanting to provide to others. So sometimes it's really hard to actually find the time to actually sort of proactively plan for those types of things. And it's very hard to plan for the unknown. But can't give too much of a plug for making sure that you're across those resources and the knowledge that you can gain by having a look at those tools that we have, like the essentials to strengthen your small business, building your cash flow resilience as well, the tax time kit. But there's also another link which we'll provide to you, which is around small business support. And there's a range of different things in there around different opportunities you have to go elsewhere for support as well. So we do know that it's really a good idea, part of your business planning, is to have a plan for when things don't go to plan. And there's some great resources on the business.gov.au website. And we also know the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, ASBEFIO, also has some great resources on their website as well. The other thing I think that's really key at this point in time is we encourage everybody to review your cyber security. It's really important that you understand how safe your business is from a cyber perspective. So digital record keeping, more and more we're doing things online, so it's really important to understand that. There is a lot of really good advice on the cyber.gov.au website that will help you go through a bit of a checklist around how safe your business is from that cyber perspective. But can't stress enough around taking the time to do that. Obviously, reach out to your agents or your tax professional. We've got the websites that you can go to. But don't forget, we have state small business commissioners as well. They can provide you with a range of information, and obviously industry associations, fantastic resource as well. So there's a lot of places for small businesses to reach out to, and we strongly encourage that you do. as early as possible. Don't wait until you're sort of in trouble. Reach out, be proactive. That will build that resilience, sort of having that plan.
No, thanks. So that's really good. And just for everybody who's listening, we do have Bruce Bilson, who's the Australian Small Business and Family Enterprise Ombudsman, and I won't even try with the acronym because it's too hard to get out. I think Bruce is joining us either next month or in July. So we'll definitely pick his brain about some of the sort of tools that they've got also around tax and sort of, building your business resilience and so on. And that was also an important point about the cybersecurity and ALNA's partnering with cyber wardens. We actually just did a webinar, I think, recently with the team from cyber wardens, and we're working really hard to get the businesses in our sector to do that training and try and take on board some of those key things that they need to do to protect themselves. So I think that's a great initiative that the government and COSBA have led there. And so sort of looking a bit more forward, are there any significant changes coming for small business tax or super compliance later in 2024 or even into 2025 that members should be aware of?
So I think probably the one that everybody does need to be quite mindful of now is our super guarantee rates increasing from 11 to 11.5% on the 1st of July. So that one is definitely key. Lots of information on ato.gov there if you want some more detail. There are some initiatives that have been announced. The Small Business Energy Incentive was announced last year in the budget. It hasn't actually become law yet, so we can't talk too much about that, but we are hopeful to get a bit more direction from government on how that is going. So watch out for the energy incentive. The other one, which you might also be aware of, is the instant asset write-off, the increase from 1,000 to 20,000. What I will remind everyone on that one as well is we don't have law yet in terms of that increase to $20,000. So what we do encourage you to do is keep an eye out on ato.gov.au for any changes like that. There will be a lot of information that's kept up to date as we know more about those law changes coming through. But they're good. I guess we call them measures. I'm trying to come up with another word there. But if you can just keep an eye on the new measures page on ato.gov.au for the latest information on those. So that's probably the key ones I'd mention to you today.
Terrific. No, thanks for that. And I might just remind everybody that's listening, if you've got any questions for Deb, please pop them in the Q&A section down below, and we'll come to those in a minute. And I guess lastly, I was sort of thinking about, obviously we're moving into that window of tax time now. Are there any significant dates coming up just in the next few months members should be aware of, or quick tips you can share for efficiently preparing your business for the end of the financial year?
Yeah, sure. So what we have is there is a tax time toolkit for small business. We'll send a link out for that as well, but that's got a range of fact sheets in there covering a lot of different topics that will help you not only prepare your tax return, talks about claiming deductions for travel or using a motor vehicle, home-based expenses, all of those types of things, how using your business money and assets. That's a really good resource to actually go and have a look at, because that will cover up on those key dates and what you need to have prepared moving forward. Likewise, our Essentials to Strengthen Your Small Business learning platform has a module about claims and what you can claim for deductions that will help you navigate through tax time too, what you need to have. The other, I guess, detail that probably you may or may not be aware of, the skills, small business skills and trainings boost. So if your small business have been looking to skill up their staff, they can take advantage of the small business skills and training boost. So that one allows small businesses the chance to claim a 20% we'll call it bonus deduction on certain training expenditure for their employees. So again, a good one to watch out for. It is available to small businesses with an aggregated annual turnover of less than $50 million. So that one is available until the 30th of June. So just have a look out for them. But again, if I can just spruik the tax time toolkit for everyone as the resource that you really want to go to, have a look at, mark off your key dates. That's probably the best place I can point you for information for that.
Okay, terrific. And I don't think we've got any questions yet, but I had just one other. You talked about digital resilience for small businesses earlier. We're all increasingly time poor, with particularly recent years with staff shortages. Are there any new digital tools coming that can reduce time when we're dealing with the ATO and our tax compliance?
Yeah, look, that's actually a really good question. So there's lots of different tools that are currently available or being developed by private business that are looking to innovate and, I guess, digitalize small business tasks. So there's increasingly more and more of those coming onto the market. The emerging fintech and govtech industries are starting to really push the boundaries, offering those digital products and services that support small business. So we encourage you to have a look with those. At the ATO, one of our key focus areas is to improve the small business tax performance with a digital first approach. So we're consulting a lot at the moment with small business tax professionals, as well as these people that are producing these tools and services, to try and blueprint a future for small business where that tax experience is going to be easier and hopefully a lot more seamless than it is when you're dealing with us at the moment. So we're trialling several pilots to test some concepts at the moment to support that digital first ecosystem. So at the moment, our pilots are around exploring the cost and benefit of right time or more regular GST or pay-as-you-go withholding reporting. We're looking at how we can build confidence and certainty into the natural systems that small business are using. And we're testing whether that's incorporating ATO public advice and guidance into digital software that is being produced. And that will also help people identify early detection and issues around meeting their tax obligations. But there are tools around right now that can help people. The online services for individuals and sole traders and the online services for businesses have a lot of information and assistance there. There is an ATO app. Again, we'll send a link out there. Manage and your tax and super on the go with them. There's a lot of digital record keeping software systems that you can access. And what, again, we would look at systems like e-invoicing as being, fast, easy and secure way to automatically send and receive invoices through your software. So encourage people to have a look at e-invoicing. And then there's the Digital Solutions program run through Australian Small Business Advisory Services, and that's a low-cost, high-quality independent advice for small business on digitalising their operations. So you might want to have a look at the link we send through on that one. So for a low fee, small businesses can access up to 4 hours of one-on-one tailored support, as well as workshops and webinars, and those services can be really, really useful as well. So there is quite a bit happening in that space, and we'd be more than happy to sort of keep you abreast of how that work is progressing to that, what we would call a more digitalised future for small business.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, with the growth of AI, I'm guessing that a lot of the main tools, the MYOB and the Zeros and so on of this world, they're just going to get more and more efficient at sort of matching up data and doing things to make it even easier to use those tools, and I guess to get the day-to-days right. So it'll be an interesting space to watch. We haven't had any other questions. You've obviously done way too good a job of sharing all of that information with us, Deb, but we really appreciate you doing that, and we'll look out for those links and certainly share those with members wherever we can. There's a few things there that I've noted down that I wasn't aware of that I think will be really, really useful. And look, thanks again for making the time to join us today. Everybody probably doesn't know, but Deb's actually joined us on a day of annual leave, so it just shows how dedicated the tax office are to engaging with small businesses. So I really appreciate you doing that for us. It's been really, really interesting, and I hope you'll join us again sometime.
Thanks, Ben. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'd love to come back and just keep you all up to date with things as they develop.
Lovely. Thank you very much, and thank you everybody who's joined us. Please take care, and we'll have today's webinar in the newsletter later today if anybody wants to go through it and pick out some of those pieces of really helpful information that Deb shared with us. So thank you again.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everyone.